Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and I always love it when new sets come out because it means we get to redo the whole farming process all over again to find that perfect crit rate, crit damage gear as well. But anyways, in this video, I'm going to be talking about the two new sets, the Sigonia set and Divine Realm set. Is it actually worth redoing your whole farming process just for these sets? Who can use them, and is it a significant damage bump? The TLDR long answer is yes. I think they fulfill a very useful niche, and I think if some of you have the characters that we're about to mention, you probably will want to spend some time in this domain. I like it quite a bit. Both of the sets actually have crit, which is something that is not very common as well. Now let's first start off with, of course, the one that everyone is hyped up more for. We don't save the best for last, we start with the best and then slowly dig in. So Sigonia set. Let's talk about what it does first. It gives you 4% crit rate. That's similar to a light cone, like a relic like Rutland Arena, as well as Inert Salsoto, which gives like 8-8 on the main, so you're behind by 4% crit rate for the first part. The one that everyone is talking about is the second part here. When enemies are defeated, crit damage increases by 4% up to 10 times. That is a 40% crit damage bump. That is really crazy, because if you think about the second line for Rutland Arena here, you get 20% buff on your basic attack and skill. So 40% versus a 20%, you can see which one is like a lot more superior just by simple. We're not even talking about any like damage formula or whatnot. 40% crit damage is multiplicative, so it's definitely very strong as well. You have Inert Salsoto here, which gives you a 15% on like the second line for follow up, as well as ultimate ability, which is very insignificant. Of course, there's a catch here. You have to defeat enemies, which we'll talk about who can utilize this part in a bit. The first question is, what is the threshold number to probably get around the same damage? We don't have exact numbers right now. Once the game goes live, I'll be testing the exact numbers. But if you think about it, you still need roughly around 2 stacks, because 4 crit rate is equivalent to 8% crit damage, which is what the first part here, Sigonia, is losing to Rutland as well as Inert Salsoto. So 2 stacks, you need at least 2 to break even on the first part. The second part, if you want to get 16 stacks, you need 4 on 4 more stacks to roughly break even with Inert Salsoto, and we're doing very simple math here, just matching the numbers. So 6 stacks for this Sigonia stack to set to be on par by numbers numerically with the Inert Salsoto set. You need 7 stacks, because this one here, this Rutland Arena, goes up to 20%, so you need like 5 stacks just for the second one's 5 plus 2. You need 7 to break even with the Rutland Arena. So that is quite a bit of stacks. That means you still have like 12% or maybe like 16% to go to be superior than these sets if you can hit the max stacks. The question then becomes, who will prefer this over these 2 other stacks? Let's not talk about the enemies defeated. Let's talk about this general thing. What I really like about the wearer's crit damage increase is this is universal crit damage. It doesn't matter what you are doing, whether you're follow-up attacking, whether you are, of course it doesn't affect DOT, but if you are doing anything to do with crit, this benefits all of them. Which means characters that use basic attack and use skill, use ultimate, use follow-ups, this Sigonia set is universal. You can switch it around later on. I like it a lot because it's very versatile. Your DPS will be able to use it as long as they can kill enemies. So of course, the second part that we want to talk about is, then what about these two? The problem with these 2 sets in the game, Inert Salsoto and Rutland Arena, some of you will realize, is you have to play them with characters that want to utilize the entire thing. If they are mainly like follow-up attack focus, like maybe Topaz and Nambi, she will find very good value with, for example, the Inert Salsoto set, which buffs follow-up attack damage, and that is what she needs. She doesn't really like care too much about anything else. But on the other hand, if you are a character like Argenti, and that we're going to talk about that in a bit, Argenti wants to do everything. He wants to use a skill, he wants to use out, and he doesn't really care too much about either one of these sets in totality. And that is when, and maybe he doesn't want to play like debuffers or whatnot as well. He wants to be specifically a crit damage character. He would love this Sigonia set non-stop, and he's not the only Erudition character. Some of you might be thinking, I don't have him. He's not the only Erudition character that can use this set. Most of them can actually, and you probably got the first part, and that's what I want to talk about now. Other than using skill, basic, ultimate, benefiting all of these 3, at the same time, Erudition characters love defeating enemies, and they do it very often. So characters, Herta maybe to a lesser extent this set, but I think a character, for example, like Himiko, a character, for example, like Serval, who both want to use their basic attack, their skill, they can use both of them, whether you want to generate skill points or not. Himiko has some follow-up as well. Himiko also has a very strong out, so she does want a little bit of both Rutaland as well as Inert Sausoto, and that's why some of these characters, if you ever thought, can I switch around these gear on the particular character? Probably if you can and they kill units, you can use the Sigonia set. That's like a super simple rule of thumb. Herta, I say, is pretty subjective because a lot of her damage tends to come from her follow-up and out, which is basically this one. You hardly like rely on skills for Herta. So Herta probably will still want to stay with Inert Sausoto because if you think about the damage distribution of a kit, most of it is going to come from follow-up. If not, it's going to be a bit of out, which is what your Inert Sausoto gives. So 3 characters, this is like kind of straightforward, right? Most people know that you defeat targets on erudition characters definitely benefit. Something that I think not many people then are talking about is another character who is single target in nature, and I'll pause for a bit. Who do you think is single target and will benefit from this? I think it's probably, and I'm gonna just release it, is a character like Zealer. For any of you players who started the game with Zealer, this is a good time to consider refreshing it. You might not get the full stacks real immediately, but every time you defeat a target, you slowly get more crit damage. If you think of the game progression, your first stage is always the easiest and then it gets harder and harder. You might not be able to use this in the Memory of Chaos as easily, but Pure Fiction game mode Zealer can pop off real hard because she snipes one squishy, she gets 4% crit damage. Snipes another squishy, she gets another 4% crit damage. And as this goes on, it helps her kill the next target because every time you kill a target, you get more stacks, you get more stacks, you get more stacks, and so on and so forth. The problem with these 2 other sets that are currently in the game is one gives, both of them give a lot of crit rate and they don't give the entirety of a kit. One gives out damage buff, one gives basic attack and skill, which is, both of them, like Zealer does one as well. Sometimes she bursts down them with like her skill, sometimes she bursts with out. This Sigonia set gives you a lot more consistency overall for just a damage over time character. Not a DOT as in like damage over time, but maybe a damage per minute where you're counting about like the total damage that they do is very consistent over a long period of time. I think those characters, like erudition characters in general, benefit from that quite a bit too. So that is like the simplest one. The reason why like the other characters are a bit iffy, a bit trickier is because you have to justify a lot. Can they keep killing targets and will they be the one finishing off the target? And are their damage coming mainly from all sources? If they are specifically like Herta focusing on maybe like 1 or 2 like follow-ups and out, then one of them here is definitely going to be a clear winner, and that's my overall thought. I think you can probably use this set with most DPSs in the game. Of course, you lose out a lot of this additional value unless you defeat targets. That is the real huge caveat. Can you defeat targets? That is the thing that I'm probably thinking of when I'm looking at a crit set, and of course this set can't be used by any DOT character. That is a huge note because these crit damage doesn't buff DOT as well. So if you guys found so far helpful, leave me a comment below, and maybe anything we missed out and you want me to test when the game goes live, I'll be reading your comments and we'll definitely be trying it out. I'm going to spend a lot of time like refreshing just to farm this so that we can see how it works on every single character basically. And this is the fun one. I think this is the slightly more confusing one, the Divine Realm set. I'm not too sure its entire long name, but what I want to talk about here in the Divine Realm set is 2 aspects. So what does it do first? Increases warrior attack by 12%. That's nice. You get a bit of attack. Attack is although quite easy to find. When entering battle, if at least one other ally follows the same path, then the warrior's crit rate increases by 12%. So here I have 2 boxes. One is Destruction, one is Nihility. These are kinda the only classes in the game that you will play more than one of the same path. The other one, of course, is like Harmony, where you might play 2, but we're talking about damage doing characters. You probably will be relying on Destruction or Nihility. One example is, for example, Jingliu, as well as a Blade team composition. And for Nihility, there are like so many, right? Any Silver Wolf with whatever not combo is already considered. Any Acheron com is already considered double Nihility. So you can proc the second effect very nicely already in these 2 team compositions. So the question then becomes, who actually benefits the most out of this set, and is it actually just useless? Because if you think about it, Nihility is split into DOT and etc. Half of your Nihility, or like roughly thereabouts, do DOT, like your Black Swan, Kafka, to some extent Queen Iphone and Luca. These half does like DOT, and then you have your other half here that doesn't do DOT, your Pella, your Well, Sampo belongs on the left, them thereabouts. And the crit rate here, although it's nice for a DOT because your main instance deal damage, but a DOT team really don't care about the additional crit too much. It's just okay to have. It's better than crit damage, but not very useful compared to like a lot of other stuff that you could possibly have. The etc. here is of course the damage dealers, and that's where I think people will be considering. So really only two parts that you're looking at. You're looking at the etc. nihility characters, which means like Silver Wolf, Weld, Pella, the characters that actually do damage, and the destruction characters to play like 2 in 1 team. Of course, you have Himiko, Herta as well, which could utilize this set, but I would argue that you much rather use like other sets, like the crit damage one for example. So this set, a bit iffy, a bit tricky to explain, or tricky to find a true use. The question that I guess most people will ask is, then, when does it outperform the other sets? I think this one's a very, very tricky question to answer because there are so many crit rate sets, crit damage sets that are a lot better giving you this. This, in my opinion, is a supportive set for a sub-damage dealer in your team. What do I mean by that? If your character doesn't want to scale off with crit damage too much, what crit rate does is add consistency to your attacks. Maybe your character, for example, like Luo Ca, for some reason your character is not, he's playing in a team that doesn't scale off with broken kill, doesn't care about that 10% crit damage. In that case, having an attack percentage is quite nice. Getting more consistency on his individual attack is much better. If there's nothing else you can buff the team with, that is one example. Of course, you have to mean that you play with 2 abundance character, which is like quite awkward in my opinion. But other than that, you could run this on most characters in the game because GOT uses attack. Most attack scaling characters don't mind this 12% attack, but it's very, very copium. I don't think it's like very, very efficient. 12% crit rate is nice, but considering that you're getting like 8% with Inert Sao Soto, 8% with a Rutland Arena, I just find it like very, very difficult to justify this set at the moment. But of course, we have to do more testing to find out just based on like numbers and my thought process. These are the characters probably that can use it. The only reason likely we'll be using this right now is, for example, you are farming the other set, you just got a god tier Divine Realm set, maybe that's when we're going to use it. Or perhaps one day we might have a character that can overcrit or something like that. Maybe that will be quite interesting if there's a mechanic that if you have over 100% crit rate, then you will possibly do even more. You maybe like increase your crit damage amount by even more, means you like crit 2 times or something like that. If one day that happens, more crit makes sense, but for now, I don't think this is going to be super fantastic. I don't see it significantly outperforming the other 2 pieces. You probably only use this when you have the choice. And to sum it all up, these 2 domains, what do I think? Do I think it's very efficient to farm? I like Sigonia set. I think Sigonia set will be massive for big PP showcases. For any of you who are just like killing a lot of enemies for any game mode that has a lot, it offers a lot more consistency as well. But for the price of consistency, after killing targets of course, you pay for slight inefficiency in Divine Realm set, because what you're giving up here is farming another set, for example, the Rutland Arena, Panic-Only Land of Dream sets, and those are much more efficient, or even your Broken Kill domain and stuff like that. Those are a lot more efficient domains to farm. This domain, I might not be farming too much after I'm done with Sigonia, which then brings me to the point is you probably can just like recycle your excess stuff into Sigonia if you're really looking for a good one, and it's much easier to snipe the main stat, snipe the set that you're looking for, because for those of you who don't know, we went to actually analyze all the different relic sets, the combination of characters using what. I'll link it in this end screen right here if you're interested to know what is the most efficient main stats to keep. If you ever want to like dump your crafting materials to hunt for a main stat, go for those. It'll help improve your set efficiency, relic farming, so you don't have to go through the torturous process of doing it all over again. And if you found this video helpful, again guys, like, subscribe, comment, and see you in the next video.